Willie Walsh, welcome to CNBC. It's great to see you in Doha.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
So let's talk about the outlook. What are the factors? What are the trends you're seeing through the recovery? How is the industry looking right now?
Well, I think the industry is actually looking pretty good at the moment. The recovery is gathering momentum and is stronger than we had expected. There are several headwinds coming our way, but at the moment, the most significant factor is that people are going back flying and going back flying in big numbers. So, the recovery has actually been much better than I thought. It's not equal across the world. There are some regions, particularly in Asia, that are lagging behind. But in most major markets, actually, we're seeing a very strong recovery.
No shortage of headwinds out there, though. Financial, political, geopolitical as well. Add economics to that too. How sustainable is the recovery we're seeing, and are we really out of the woods just yet?
Well, we're not out of the woods. There's still a long way to go to repair the damage that was done, caused by the pandemic and the government reaction to the pandemic, the border closures. But actually, we're making very good progress. And I would describe all these headwinds that you mentioned, they're almost business as usual headwinds. We've faced challenges like that before, and we've overcome them. And I think actually the industry, while generally weak from a financial point of view, if you look at balance sheets, is strong in terms of the flexibility that it has, the measures it's taken, the ability to react quickly to what we're seeing at the moment. So, these headwinds will cause some challenges, but I'm very confident we'll be able to overcome them.
So let's talk about how the industry is responding to some of those challenges. And first on this issue of the soaring price of fuel, obviously a number of factors are contributing to that. But with an average price of jet fuel at around $140 a barrel now, how are airlines actually combating that challenge? And will that higher cost be transferred over to the flying public?
Yeah, unfortunately, it's inevitable that it will eventually make its way to the public in the form of higher ticket prices. To some degree, we're cushioned as an industry because we have hedging in place. A number of airlines had hedged last year, so they're not feeling the full impact of the significant spike in the oil price, and particularly the jet price, which has even gone up at a faster rate than the barrel of Brent. So it is a challenge. It's going to be more of a challenge, I think, in 2023 than we've seen in 2022. But as I say, oil is fuel. The biggest single element of an airline's cost base. It averaged 27% of the cost base if you look at the 10-year period, 2010 to 2019, best 10 years in the history of the industry, and that was with Brent at $80 a barrel on average. So unfortunately, there's no way airlines can absorb this additional cost. So when the hedging starts unwinding, or indeed for some airlines who aren't hedged, they will have no choice but to reflect that higher cost in their ticket prices.
And you said more of an impact in 2023, so it seems to suggest there's no relief in sight.
No, I think the expectation is that the oil price will start easing. We never know. I don't know what the oil price will be, but if you look at the forward curve, it does suggest that we'll see that ease off. You would also expect the crack spread to narrow a bit. I think that reflects the fact that there's limited refining capacity for jet aviation jet kerosene at the moment. These are issues that in some ways we would see as temporary and should reverse as we go through this year into next year.
What is a comfortable price for the industry, just out of curiosity? Can you gaze into your crystal ball?
I've spent 40 years plus in this industry, over 20 of them as a CEO, and I've never figured out what the best price of oil. A high oil price isn't necessarily a bad thing for the industry because it impacts on everybody. And what it tends to do, because fuel is a variable cost, it tends to play into decisions on capacity and growth. So I think what you'll see, or I would certainly expect to see, is a more cautious industry as they recover their schedules, looking at what capacity they put back into the market in 2023. The industry was profitable with oil at $120 a barrel previously. 2012, I think it averaged $112 a barrel. We made money at that price. So, it's possible that the industry will be able to overcome these. And certainly I'm optimistic that we will.
One of the other challenges is that the cost of everything is going up at the moment, Willie. We have inflation surging. Fuel, of course, a major input cost for a lot of these carriers, but at the same time, borrowing costs are going up as well, and the US dollar continues to rise too. So for those carriers that have seen their balance sheets really being battered and bruised through the pandemic, How are those factors going to impact the recovery in your view?
Yeah, well, I think in real terms, inflation is still outstripping interest rates. So,
Definitely.
So that does help people with debt that they have to pay down. But again, these are challenges that we've seen before. If you've been in this industry long enough, we've seen inflation, well into double digits previously, and we've seen, interest rates well up there as well. They're all coming together at a moment like this, probably at a time when we'd prefer not to face these headwinds. But again, I think these are factors that we can see now and will play into the decisions that airline CEOs are making in relation to the recovery through this year and their schedules and planning for next year. I believe we'll see more caution on the part of CEOs. Certainly if I was running an airline, I'd be cautious about my growth plans for 2023 and 2024. And in fact, in some cases, because we've seen difficulties with the delivery of new aircraft from both Boeing and Airbus, I think that's going to impose some restrictions on the industry as well. So, as I said, business as usual, much, much nicer to be dealing with these massive challenges than dealing with what we had to face back in 2000 when we were dismantling our networks. That was a horrible time for the industry. So the outlook remains positive. Personally, I'm very optimistic about the rest of this year and 2023.